Let's dive in, everyone, for what promises to be the best Tyrannical push week of this season. I've meticulously crafted custom routes for each dungeon. They're carefully planned, packed with timestamps below to hear my thoughts on each route. If I've placed a note in these MDT routes, it's a must-know. Remember, all healers can clear and heal bursting as long as we don't roll bursting. I would have to say Priest, Resto Druid, and Monk are especially great at these. This week, it's all about bringing the fire with your single target DPS to dominate the Tyrannical bosses. Alright guys, let's start it off with everyone's favorite key, Azure Vault. This is going to be your push route. So, for the very first pull, when you actually do this, make sure somebody is assigned the kick for this tender. If nobody is assigned that kick, it will cast in the hallway, stun somebody, and someone's going to die, creating a very, very difficult pull. This is very hard to do without a Vengeance Demon Hunter, but it's not impossible. I would probably recommend doing this with Vengeance, though. Assign this kick, you are much better off. Then it's a very, very standard route after here. Make sure lashers are getting kicked. This is, make sure somebody also has one different assignment per tree here. If somebody gets casted on, they will die. This is only 3 kicks. Somebody is always going to have their kick up for here. These are very long casts. Don't overlap. Just set these up beforehand. It's really not that hard. Don't let tenders cast. You're probably going to time this key. It can actually just get bricked by these guys casting and stunning people. Everything else is super linear on the dungeon. We're going to go with killing all of these. Make sure you actually pull the elementals first. If you pull the elementals backwards and then spawn these, it's so much easier to group. The casts are easy to kick. All the frontals go in the right area. No one is actually running away. So run through if you can. Let's say you have to wait 10 seconds because of these things, then it's fine. Just pull it. But if you can walk through and then pull these first for your tank, it will be better for the pull overall. I wouldn't just completely negate this. This is definitely a little bit of a min-max you can do. I think these are just very standard easy pulls to get your CDs back. This, you can add the lieutenant into 7 or 8. So if the lieutenant is padding through here and you have all cooldowns, blow the lieutenant up, kill all of this. Just be wary he buffs these guards. It's sometimes scary for the tank. If he's okay with that, it's fine. Next, you would just pull him into here and then you would have all your cooldowns. So pull lieutenant when you have cooldowns in. He pads into all of these things. You can choose when you fight him. Just fight him when you have all cooldowns. Way more efficient than just fighting him separate. If you fight him with the 2 casters on the sides, he's easier to kill than if you fight him with guards or your tank. After that, I don't think there's anything that's different than anyone's normal pull here. Just skip the berserkers at the end. Somebody told me if the tank jumps off, it doesn't waste their cheat deaths. So instead of letting the tank die to these, when the tank goes over here in the left, we go to the right, take the book over, have the tank jump off to save cheat deaths. That is what I've heard. I have not confirmed that. So this is your Azure Vault push week route. Make sure you are kicking tenders. Make sure the lashers are getting kicked. This is a pretty easy dungeon overall. If you execute these pulls, you will possibly 2-chest your keys. Guys, our academy route is extremely similar to normal. The only real things that you have to notice here are for pull 6, right after it, we will be skipping this G10 pack. This is where you're going to meld skip. They're going to fear it with the Demon Hunter, and you can do this with a Havoc. You could do this with your Vengeance, and then everyone runs through Shadow Melds, kill the boss, and then you're going to do the exact same thing again. This one can only be done with Vengeance. You're going to double fear sigil. He's going to run through. Over here, if you have all cooldowns, you can kind of do this in a slightly different path. So if you have no cooldowns after this for some reason, which you normally should, pull 10, you can do all of this, and then you pull 12 onto the actual boss. You just get funnel. Your group should be fine with this. If you want to kill 1 caster before going in, that would be pretty much the only thing that you would need to change. I think the other comment I have on here is make sure that you wait for the Skitterfly pack to pat through. It makes it a lot easier to group up. You will lust this or lust the boss, depending on what your group wants to do. It's really up to them. I normally just lust the first pull, make sure lust lines up better for whenever I need it later. So this is there's not too much you could really do in Academy. If you're not going to skip this, the only thing I would change is I'd probably not do the Reaver here. If I'm going to pick these 2 packs up, I would take Reaver out, and then I would probably take 1 pack out, probably the padding pack or the G26 over here. So if you do not skip these, add them in, get rid of the Reaver, or the Ravager, and get rid of maybe the Pat over here. So that is your Algathar Academy full push route. This is going to time you pretty much any key. Past like maybe a 20, I guess we're going to be snapping all of these mobs up here onto number 3. So technically it could be getting a little bit crazier than this, but I mean, if you guys are already doing that pull, you're probably already theory crafting like crazy yourselves. So we're not going to go there for this one. If you are if you're snapping all of this trash onto here, then send me your video, because that's a pretty cool pull. I'd like to see it. So that is your Algathar Academy kind of switch up if you needed it. Okay guys, here is your Neltharus main pulls here. The biggest one that you need to be aware of is right at G2, you need to make sure you do not pull the Phoenix. If you have an AUG, he can sleepwalk it. That is always very nice. If you have a monk, you can ROP this guy, but this is an individual pack here. If this guy has a huge pack, like he goes all the way to the corner, all the way back. If you pull him, he will pull the hunters. The hunters are awful. If you were going to do this pull 3 here, which I recommend, then you absolutely need to make sure that you're not pulling these hunters. These hunters are going to kill the group for sure. By the time you actually get them pulled, too much healing aggro and everything. I mean, it's way too hard. Make sure you do not pull this. If you do not pull this, you need a completely different route, or you need to like kind of break this up into 2 pulls. If you're going to pull it, do it in 2 pulls. Someone's going to die. It's not going to work. The beginning's very standard. Just make sure it's in 2 pulls. Get these trash. As soon as this, who is it? The Qualizashi guy here, as soon as he dies, go straight into Magma Tusk with these. It's just more funnel. You shouldn't really be dying to bursting in here. I guess try not to overlap it with one of the AoEs, but you should really be on top of that. The next thing, we're just going to skip the hunters here. Then we can do another sleepwalk on the hunter back here. Either we pull from the backside with the phoenixes. One of the things that you need to be doing is your DPS here. When you actually pull this, the tank should be right about here. Somebody should be going forward and pulling the phoenixes for them. The tank has a hard time getting aggro on all of these different packs because these jump from the ceiling and stuff. So somebody pull the phoenixes for them. It helps the tank a lot. It will make their life easier. Try not to pull these. You can also walk back this way and come through this door. I guess if these guys are up, it's going to be really hard to do that. But maybe if someone dies, just be aware that this hallway is open once this guy dies. But we do want to sleepwalk the hunter and then pull through here. If you do not have sleepwalk, this route is a lot harder, but you can pull this hunter in. I don't necessarily recommend it, but if you have the hunter and you do not have any way to skip it, it's really fine to add him in. This isn't the worst pack. I think we only have, how many hunters would that be? Then we would have 2 hunters total. That's not the worst thing ever, but it's nice to skip it. Over here, everything else is completely standard. You can pull 7 onto the boss if you want. I've never had an issue doing that. Once like 2 of these lava guys are dead, it's just more funnel. I like to do pull 6 together here once these lava flares are dead. So we go through, pull the blacksmith. As soon as the lava flares are dead, then we pull into everything else. And this just makes the next pull so much easier to do. This is a great push route. Pull these last guys onto the last boss if you can. It's just a lot of extra funnel that we can get onto all of these bosses. This is a rough route. Be careful. I will put in some notes real quick and we will move on to the next one. Blow through Uldaman very quickly. This one is pretty linear. Just make sure all of these ones that you're pulling the trash onto the bosses, which is the first two, that you're just paying attention. You don't get frontaled, especially in this second boss here. Excuse me, third boss here. For first pull, you're going to pull everything straight to the berserkers. I'd recommend fighting it in the first room. Use any of the pillars to LOS, kick the basilisk, or use your dispels on them. Then you're going to go straight into pull 2. You can kind of chain this with pull 3 once some of these die. Then once the Geomancer is dead, pull it on to Bromok. Go back over, kill Olaf, all of them. You got a little bit of extra funnel with the basilisk. Make sure you do not get frontaled. I even put a little note here. Do not get frontaled by these guys. This is free funnel onto this boss. Just pay attention. Do not get frontaled. It's only every 20 seconds. Don't worry about it right here. This is the scariest pull of the dungeon. If you screw it up, I would recommend that tank saves either their invis belt or potion. They're going to sprint through here with invis, pull the last pack, jump straight through, and then fight in this room on this corner. Everyone else is over here other than melee. Let the stone casts in the hallway go off, and then once everything stacks up right here, then you can start a CC rotation. But use kicks and everything at the beginning. All of this will be coming through, and it's just such an efficient pull. It turns, 2 or 3 pulls sometimes into 1. Very nice. Especially with no on-death affixes. Everything else, very straightforward. Kill the boss. You can pull these onto the boss too. I would recommend doing that if your group is cranking. There's some groups where we just pull straight onto it. If this overlaps with bursting, it could be really bad, but you could just have a priest MD it. It's just easy. Then you make sure your LOS and golems down here. The only other pull that I would recommend being a little bit scared of is Guardian with double Time Reaver. I will be doing this pull, but just make sure people are LOSing or calling when stuff is actually going to be getting dispelled. For the Guardian here, you can get him pretty low with this Time Weaver and then kind of chain in if you want, but most groups I have right now, we just grab the Guardian and just walk straight down, and then we'll fight them on the stairs, making it very easy to walk up and down for this guy's cast and the LOSs for getting your haste back. Be very careful with these mobs. Make sure you're LOSing at 2 stacks. Once it gets down, at 2 seconds. Once it gets down to 2 seconds, you LOS. Gonna be so much easier. All your haste is back. If you greet it, you're gonna be down 40% haste. I mean, you just can't cast, you do no damage. It's not worth it. Make sure you LOS for that time. That is your push route for Uldaman. Alright guys, let's do the Brackenhide Hollow one next. So for this route, you need a Shadow Priest or a Disc Priest. You have to have a Priest. For the first pack, just make sure you don't get the Hunter here. We're going to Mind Soothe this G6 pack, and then once we kill pull 2, we will kill the start pull 3, and the Priest will then go Mind Soothe both of these. We will then pull these straight into the boss whenever the bosses actually spawn. This is pretty much a W key route, other than right here for pull 9, we will pull Stink Breath onto Treemouth. It's pretty much just free damage. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Everything else is pretty free. I put it in so you didn't have to pull the vultures, but normally everyone does anyway, so you can kind of get away without it, so that's one reason why I didn't include them. You can obviously pull them on free funnel. I'm always a proponent for that, but if you do not have to pull them and you have to like run for them in this route, you do not have to pull these. So they're excluded, can pull them anyway, doesn't really matter. The end of it, just pull these trash mobs onto this boss. You really shouldn't. They should be dead before that first totem spawns anyway, most likely. You can pull them in when they're at 50%. So this is pretty much a standard route for your Shadow Priest. You need to do a completely different route at the beginning. If you do not have a Shadow Priest, you have to kill a lot of extra stuff. So in this key, I would recommend, especially with bursting, this key, you need a Priest 100%. Bring a Priest to this key. Brackenhide, that is your push key for Tyrannical. Alright guys, let's go over one of my favorites, Ruby Life pools. Just due to the variation that you can actually do, we're going to stealth the very first mob here. We're going to pull almost every single mob before the first boss, including the very first padding Juggernaut there. Once we pull all of that together, make sure you're actually focusing the Juggernaut down. The only thing you have to make sure gets stunned is the sentries. These will pretty much kill your group on a high enough key if 2 of those get off. Make sure those are getting stunned. Everything else just try to kick. Pull your Defier here with one of these Chill Weavers, and then make sure you get the Whelplings so you can get extra percent just in case you miss one of these as you go through the dungeon here. Basically, you just want to ignore Thunderhead. You're going to kill Flame Gullet. We're going to move all the way in a clockwise pattern. When you get down, the only real change that you can make up here is make sure with pull 7, if you have all of your cooldowns and the pat is in a good spot, pull it into pull 7. If the pat is in a bad spot, then let it pat up here. Try to save your cooldowns because then you can blow them. You might have to wait a second for Thunderhead. I have seen people just walk straight by him over here and to the left if you can jump, but I don't know. Sometimes people pull it, sometimes people don't. I feel like it's weird. It's generally worth just waiting for it. If you know you're short on time, then just try to send it. But generally, I think you can walk behind it over here without pulling either of those. I've seen someone do it, but then it flew away before I tried it. I will try it again. Over here, pretty standard stuff. It's Tyrannical, so we'll just kill this. Double pull this. Make sure you're kicking the channelers. Make sure, do not pull the Thunderclouds directly into the shield guy when he's casting it. If he gets all of the shields around him, he will get a massive shield, then AoE everyone down. Kill your final boss, and that is your final push for Ruby life pools. Any variation here would probably be like, if you wanted to skip pull 10, I see a lot of people after this boss stealths past this and then kills everything else. I think that's okay, and to make up for that, you would have to pick up a lot of this trash here and maybe these 3 mobs, but right here, it's Tyrannical. This pack is kind of free in my opinion. I don't think you should skip it. I think it's as free as if you were to kind of just pick up these down here. This is always going to be good cooldowns. Lines up your cooldowns again over here. I mean, I think this is fine on high fortified. I don't think you pull this, but this is your... I think should be your push route for Tyrannical keys in Ruby Life Pools. Guys, Nokhud is as standard as it's ever been. I don't think Nokhud's ever really going to change too much until someone comes out with some wild, crazy tech at the beginning. Always try to wait for the pat a little bit up and then pull it into this. It makes it so much easier to group. Make sure you're doing this double pull. You can do this double pull over here as well. It's very risky if you have cooldowns. I mean, do it if it works out for you, but you kind of want to get that padding pack next because it's dangerous. Somebody might accidentally pull it, so either pull it into the next pack if you're feeling lucky, but I generally, depending on the key, you probably don't need to double pull twice in this, but that's up to you. Next pack down here, when you actually get to the second platform, essentially, pull 6 and 7 are interchangeable. If you do not have cooldowns, go pull 7. It's not as bad over here than pull 6. It's very easy to group this up. Lust. Then you go down into pull 7 here. Jump back over. If you want to kill the pat first, you can. Depending on your cooldown layout, you're just going to kind of rotate whatever you want here. This is free game. I say make sure you're tracking your CDs. This is a CD tracking pull situation. This is up to you on the fly. Do not just base it off of this, but generally this should do you fine if you do this. I see no issue with this. Next one over here, I would just do this in exact order. I'd probably keep this up maybe in another tab, 3chess.io over here. This is sometimes hard to remember, but basically if you could just do this in 4 pulls, this is way more efficient in my mind. One of these, you kind of do this one. Once this is dead, make sure someone procs this while you're killing this pack here. Don't just wait the full 30 seconds here. You want to kill either this pack or this pack and then finish one of the middle packs in. So this is kind of up to you, whichever side you start on there. Next one, final you have to know how to shadow meld or do any of these at the end. I believe that these mobs are a waste of time. You can just kill these over here instead of killing these. Just shadow meld, keep the frontal on this guy facing one of the walls, and you will be completely fine. The only thing you must know about this pull, the DPS has to pull Balara first, then this guy gets pulled by the tank. As soon as the tank pulls, then you can shadow meld or invis this guy. Don't put dots out, don't do anything like that. If you dot him, he will re-engage with you. That is your push route. And make sure you're using not even close. This guy trucks. You probably need like big defenses for the shield. Remember, you can shadow meld the shield as well. Okay, last but not least, guys, this is going to be your Halls of Infusion push route. This is going to be a very sketchy first pull, but if no one hits these mobs and the tank gets a little bit of threat, it's very easy. Once you get all of these down, you can use the Evoker to jump the priest up to the top and then grip one of your other DPS onto the bench that's right here. You basically take no damage other than to the shouts. So all the circles on the ground, you kind of mitigate them. It's very OP. Over here, make sure you have one of the engineers grab the, I believe it's little orb in the corner. This is a very easy pull once you have two. If you have your cooldowns up, you could actually pull straight into both of these and then use the LOS. This is pretty easy. I recommend doing this pull. If you have no cooldowns and all of this took you a long time, maybe don't do it, but this is generally free as long as you're using LOS and probably some comms. If you're not in comms, no cooldowns, don't do this pull. You're probably gonna die. Skip these guys with zealots. You can use multiple different ways you can skip it. You can use Mind Soothe. You can fear skip with the Vengeance Demon Hunter Havocs. There you can use your potions. If you have nothing to skip it, you can just kill these guys and don't pick up the dragonflies or any of these. This is extra % over here. If you kill these, then you don't have to pick up this pack over here. There's some little variations you can do. I recommend skipping this over here. These are easier to pull into everything else. Over on this side, start killing G18 Swoglets while tank is pulling this. They attack stuff at random anyway. There's way too many of these up here for melee. If you're doing all melee, these Swoglets have to die before pulling down, or else they won't do any damage. Focus the Swoglets down. These can be pulled into this, and then once you've established, if you have your Lust here, a lot of the times Lust will line up right here if you can. That is perfect, and then you pull all of this down here and then just light this up. This will just get fried. Make sure you're getting kicks. Jump into your Goliath kill. This, sometimes people like to skip the dragon, then you could like get more trash up here, but I don't really like to do that. This dragon is not bad on Tyrannical. I don't mind pulling it. This, you can cage the Earthshaker, Mind Soothe. There's so many different ways to skip this. If people can't jump up, have them die. The Resto Druid, something on the other side, reses them. This is so much nicer. Pretty standard at the end. You just pull straight through. Inundates can't be kicked. Make sure you're saving stuff for it. Keep people top. And Primal Tsunami. Just take your time. It doesn't phase multiple times. Very easy. End boss now. This used to just phase over and over again. It was just such a pain. This is going to be your push route for Tyran. Thanks so much, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I will try to get back to you. If you need my routes, I'll set them up in my Discord as well for easy copy and paste. For some reason, Pastebin doesn't like my stuff. I'll keep trying to do that, but all my route links will be in the Pastebin and in my Discord here. I will set up a Discord fully, but right now it is just for routes. If you found any of this helpful, please consider subscribing and liking. Thank you so much, guys.